Good day everyone, I'm Ethan, moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, Budget Spreadsheets 2023. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, David H. Ringstrom. David H. Ringstrom, CPA, is an author and nationally recognized instructor who teaches courses of webinars each year. His Excel courses are based on over 25 years of consulting and teaching experience. I would now like to hand over the floor to one of the best speakers of Microsoft Excel. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Ethan. Hello, everyone. I'm David Ringstrom, a CPA in Atlanta. Welcome to our presentation on creating budget spreadsheets in Microsoft Excel. Budget spreadsheets, in my view, are kind of a special creature in Excel because often we are creating them under tight deadlines and having to make lots of changes. I want to share with you some ways that you can build in resilience to your budget spreadsheets so that when you do make these small changes, that you don't solve one problem and create new problems. I'm going to be teaching from the Microsoft 365 version of Excel today. That's because that's the newest version of Excel. These techniques, we can use them in any version of Excel. So the first thing I want to begin with is assigning names to our inputs in our budget spreadsheets. These are sometimes referred to as range names. And taking the time to assign names to cells in our spreadsheets can, one, when we assign names to cells, then when we reference those cells in our formulas, we can see the name of the input as opposed to the cell address. It also eliminates the need to incorporate the dollar signs to create an absolute reference when you're copying a formula across the row. We can also use names as bookmarks. That means that we can select the name from the name box and then navigate to that. So no matter how big our workbook is, we can jump purposefully to specific locations in our spreadsheet. Now, there are a couple different ways that we can create names in our spreadsheets. If we start with step one, notice if we click the arrow in the name box, and so the name box is that space that's right above the top left-hand corner of your worksheet. Pull that list down, the list is going to be blank in most workbooks because most users are not using names within their workbooks. And so if I select a two-column range of cells, then step three, I can go to the formulas menu. Step four, I can choose create from selection. Step five, I'll click OK. And then step six, if I go back to the name box, I'll see that all those cells have been assigned names. And I can do that either by using the name box, which I find easier, or there's also a define name command that's on the formulas tab. So we're going to click on cell B12 of the inputs worksheet. Step two, we're going to type collections 1 and then press enter. We'll assign collections 2 and collections 3 to those subsequent cells there. And then we'll also do payments 1, payments 2, and payments 3. So I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet. I'm going to click on cell B12. I'm going to type that collections 1. We'll do collections 2, collections 3. When we get down to the payments, I'm going to misspell one of the names on purpose and then show you how to recover from that. If I pull down the name box, I can be anywhere in the workbook, in fact. So I'm going to go navigate to the cash budget tab, let's say, pull down the name budget, the name box, and then I'll choose interest rate. Excel will then move my cursor to that named cell. Along the way, I purposefully goofed up one of the names there, and I want to show you how we can fix that. And we're going to employ a feature that's called the table feature. So we're going to select any cell that's within the operating expenses section. Step 2 there, we're going to choose the insert command. Step 3, we'll click the table command. It's going to bring up a create table dialog box. And step 4, we'll click OK. Step 5, we'll see that on the table design menu, the first field there allows us to assign a name to our table. Now, if you changed your mind about using the table feature and did not want the data to be a table at all, you could click Convert to Range, and that would then turn it back into a normal range of cells. Now we're going to go to the next cell, and we want to assume that our sales are going to grow by 250 units per month. So to write that formula, we'll go to cell C2. We'll go to the Formulas tab. We'll say Use in Formula. We'll choose Sales Growth by Month, and we're going to say plus B2. Because B2 is the January sales. The next what we want to do is reference our ending inventory assumption and multiply that by the next month's sales. On the Home tab, I will click the Auto Sum command, and that will then sum those first two rows. So now that's going to bring us down to our beginning inventory, and we're going to see that the beginning inventory is basically our ending inventory percentage, but for the current month's sales. So we'll reference that ending inventory amount and multiply it by the current month's projected sales. That will give us our beginning inventory. And the way that we're going to do this, the approach we're going to take, is we're going to select cell B5, hold down the Shift key, and use the arrow keys to select over to cell M9. I can then press Control-R to copy my cell contents to the right. If I wanted to copy things going down, I could press Control-D. We're going to move on to our collections ratio portion. Once I get that first row, I can then select these and then copy and paste them in a staggered fashion across the table. And again, I don't have to worry about using dollar signs there. I want to show you another function that I find not many people are aware of. It's called the choose function. Many times in budget spreadsheets, we find ourselves needing to write nested if functions. In some cases in your budgets, you might be able to delineate things in a numbered fashion like that. And if you do, the choose function gives you an easier way to write the formula. I'm going to show you the wrong way to do this calculation here. We want to use dynamic formulas that will update automatically, such as the SUMIF function. So it's kind of in the name SUMIF. Excel is going to add up values if they meet a certain criteria. So we have three arguments that we need to provide. We have a range argument, which is where to look. We have a criteria argument, which is what to look for. And then we have a sum range, which is what do we want to add up. So let's take what we learned about SUMIF and apply it to our budget spreadsheet here. We're going to use SUMIF to look up the budgeted amount, which means that we're going to create a formula that is going to look across the row. And so we're going to say SUMIF. So we're going to say, look, we're looking at row 25 for the month that's in cell A26. We then want to add up the values on row 8. What a lot of folks do is they will copy these values here and then paste them in on other places in the worksheet. What I strongly encourage you to do instead is create formulas that reference the original input. Because another way that disconnects arise is when you copy it in one place and paste it the other. If I change this expense name to something else, then it doesn't track throughout the budget spreadsheet. If I reference that original input, then it will change all the way through the spreadsheet. So VLOOKUP has 4 arguments. First is the lookup value. So I do need a dollar sign here because I want to reference column A. So VLOOKUP is going to look down the first column of the table array. When it finds a match, it's going to return data from whatever the column index number argument says, which in this case is the second column. And then I'm putting a 0 because I want an exact match. So 0 and false are interchangeable with regard to our matches there. All right, that brings me to the end of my prepared material for today.
Thank you, David. That was a wonderful webinar.
I want to thank everyone for attending today. I hope that you found the presentation helpful.
Thank you, everyone, for participating. Thank you, David, for the wonderful webinar. And you all have a great day ahead. You may all disconnect now. Bye-bye. Take care.